Welcome back to the Marine Corps Movie Minute, where we discuss the movies of the Marine Corps 1 minute at a time. Today, we are discussing minute 50 of Heartbreak Ridge. And before I get into how the minute starts, my name is Brian.
I'm Jack.
I'm Travis Bowe from Real Comic Heroes and Watchmen Minute.
Welcome, Travis. Thanks for joining us. And Perry, of course, thanks for joining me as always.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, man. It's good having you.
Yeah.
So let's get into the minute. The minute begins with another round of the Gunny and Stitch Jones back and forth. And it ends with Gunny discussing major powers with Staff Sergeant Webster. So we pick up from last minute where Gunny was making a serious implication to Stitch Jones about where his Kevlar helmet might be. I like the way he says, he doesn't say Kevlar, it's Kevlar.
Yeah.
And we've noticed a lot of weird pronunciations of just different words like Staff Sergeant Webster they're not building an elite, it's an elite.
Yeah, Elite.
Wow.
Elite Fighting Force.
Cellulite instead of Twin Towers on cellulite. And we just noticed some funny little ways of pronouncing things. Yeah, so Stitch is saying that he's financially responsible for these, for any of their equipment that's lost, which is 100% true.
Yes.
I like the fake, offense that Stitch takes, like to this implication, and it's funny because it's like this whole did he or didn't he pawn his helmet? It's not going to come back up. We're never going to really find out, I guess. But I like to assume that that's exactly what he did, and that's why at the end of last minute, his face is just the look of fear.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bad things happen.
He gets that look a lot with Gunny whenever he sees him. It's like that this, as Perry said, like, uh-oh, Dad's caught me.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing much gets by Gunny either, so everybody kind of knows that. So I guess they just like rolling the dice to see if he catches it or not. But he seems to always catch it.
Well, that's why I don't think it's even necessary that they go back to it. The way we've seen these guys so far, he probably did it.
Yep.
Gunny knows he did it, but if you notice, he gives him an out. He gives him to 1900 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, they typically the Marine Corps day ends at 1700 hours, so he's giving him 2 hours to get out to town.
Yeah. Find a Kevlar. It doesn't even have to be his own Kevlar.
Yeah.
and get it back, or else he's not going to have a head to wear it on.
Yeah.
I like to think that it's in some pawn shop, and that's where maybe he bought his maybe swapped it for a guitar or something for his nighttime activities. I mean, I don't know what the value is on one of these helmets. I doubt it's equal to a guitar, but I'm sure it helped.
They're not cheap, but I can't imagine they're like. I feel like I have a place called GI Joe Army Surplus right down the road, and I feel like I could get one fairly inexpensive if I really wanted to.
Well, shit, I walked out of. So my last day, I walked out with a Kevlar, some deuce gear, a bunch of other stuff in my sea bag when I got out of the Marine Corps. Kevlar sat in my garage until we moved back to Texas. So I don't know but that was also in 96 to 2000. So I'm sure the value. I don't even know where the hell I came up with that damn helmet. I don't know where it came from.
Well, it's probably Stitch Jones's.
It probably is. Yeah. There's a headless Marine from the 90s running around there looking for.
Unless somebody wasn't crossing the T's and dotting the lowercase J's. I actually found my receipt recently. I was going through a lot of my old junk trying to get rid of it, or at least organize it and get it out of the house. Basically, I found like receipts for supply when I turned in all my gear.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So unless somebody was not paying attention or somebody kind of didn't care,
Yeah.
you were able to probably just we had to turn all that stuff in, which again, they will dock your pay if you don't turn in your stuff.
Oh,
say what?
Remember?
Say what?
Yes. Well, I still don't remember him. I just remember you mentioning.
Yeah. Well, I think that's how I ended up with all that stuff, because I remember going to supply. I think that was another case of get out of here. Friends in supply or a gift.
fun times trying to check out when you're finally getting out of the Marine Corps is you have to go everywhere and get everybody to sign off on the fact that you are no longer receiving stuff or you turned stuff in. Oh, actually, Perry, you mentioned earlier today, we in fact get confirmation that Stitch Jones is a corporal.
Yeah, so all this time we've been looking on their collar for the rank for the normal recon Marines. It's the first time that you actually see rank on anybody else's any like non-leadership position. You see rank on their collar. Now he's the only one we see it on, but we actually find out that Jones is in fact a corporal. Looking at some of the other ones, like, well, Forgetty's got. I see.
You can see it on Forgetty right now.
Yeah, I can't tell if he's a Lance or if he's a PFC. I imagine he's a Lance.
He's a Lance. He specifically said his name was Lance Corporal Forgetty.
That's right.
There was a scene earlier when they were on the rappelling tower, and it was Aponte and Stitch Jones, and they clearly did not have any rank on their lapels. So but of course Gunny did. And I think there was it was a Gunny who it was probably a real Marine who was getting them situated to rappel, and you could tell that he had rank, but none of the recon Marines did. So
and I don't know if that was just an omission on the prop master's part, or if there was a reason why they wouldn't have rank. I just can't think of like the sleeves up and down thing, which has been a question. Like these guys, it's uniform. It's either all or none, right? So Gunny's got his sleeves up. The rest of his Marines don't. First platoon has their sleeves up. That's it's an oddity. Yeah, so that's the thing with like the Marines. It's like either all or all or none. I think there's some times where you have to unroll them, like if you're going to like the gas chamber, or there's certain things that you might unroll them for out of season. But yeah, I don't know why you would remove your rank pins from the rappelling tower. Other than the fact that we didn't have rank pins when we went rappelling because we were still recruits.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was a safety thing. I didn't bother to look that up, but yeah, you're right. That's a good point. When we did it in boot camp, there is no rank. So maybe they always had to take it off. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, we get the payoff to Profile's antics in the background with his weapon in previous minutes. After Stitch Jones and Gunny have their little back and forth, Profile comes up and says, "Gunny, my weapon's jammed."
Yeah.
Now Tom Villard is great. He's always playing this character. He's always the doofus. And I have a couple thoughts about this whole thing. Well, first off, he definitely did not practice any of the safety stuff that they drill into the rifle range safety rules. They don't observe none of them.
None.
There's 4 basic rifle range safety rules. It's treat every weapon as if it were loaded.
Yep.
Keep your finger straight and off the trigger until you intend to fire.
Yep.
Never point your weapon at anything you don't intend to shoot.
Or kill. Yep.
Yeah, or kill. Or keep your weapon on safe until you intend to fire.
Yep.
If you do any of those things, Profile should not have had this incident happen.
Catastrophic failure of training.
Yeah.
I mean, recon, as we've seen so far, recon platoon is not the most proficient at anything at this point. Yeah, that is so drilled into our heads. I've taught, I've even mentioned that to my kid when he's just playing like with like Star Wars laser guns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And to this day, if I have any sort of like if you get a scanner, you go to Target and you're gonna like do your wedding registry and they give you the scanner, my finger stays off that trigger until I'm ready
to use it. Yeah. Well, it's probably way more expensive to do that than it is to shoot somebody.
Well, true. It's funny. It's just one of those things that have stuck with me, that you keep your finger off the trigger.
Yep.
It's funny how you kind of mentioned that these guys aren't necessarily the most proficient group here in the first 2 acts, or first act for sure. And when I was watching it, this of any Clint Eastwood movie does not feel like a Clint Eastwood movie that I've seen, because this feels like you take all the goofballs from Stripes,
Yeah.
and you put, and then Clint Eastwood is the Sergeant Hulka of that movie, like, and it's kind of his movie from that perspective. And apologies to compare an Army movie to a Marines movie.
Don't apologize. I made that. I made that same comparison, and I said this is as close. I said this, and I said that way early on. I said this movie is as close to Stripes as the Marine Corps will probably ever let get made.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird just seeing Clint Eastwood kind of interacting with these, bunch of dumbasses.
Yeah, knuckleheads.
Yeah.
This movie it's a war movie, and it's based on real life events, or at least
Yeah.
I mean,
Inspired by.
Thank you, because clearly it's not what exactly happened, but I've also made the observation that these guys are almost like the Bad News Bears, and that it's like they almost film this movie or shoot this movie in such a way that it is like those typical underdog sports movies like Mighty Ducks or something like that, where
I
like
knew you were going to say Mighty Ducks. I knew it was coming. I knew it.
So does that make Clint Eastwood Emilio?
It really is kind of that same kind of movie, because I mean, if this movie would, I mean, obviously I don't know if you talk about the ending, but yeah, they are going to go to war. But if you would have told me that this movie ends with a football game between Recon and Powers Group, like I wouldn't be surprised. Like it has that sort of, we just want this group of underdogs to get a win by the end of the movie, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, and we totally kind of jump around, and that's funny because they almost do kind of have a match with First Platoon, and then they go and prove themselves in battle. But yeah, it is totally, it's like an adult, like masculine version of these kids sports movies. Where the ragtag team gets outdoes the jocks, and these guys are the goofballs.
I also did write down that this movie, watching it, it was just Top Gun in the dirt.
Yeah.
I mean, especially like towards the end of the movie when everyone's, or at least Gunny is at a party with a bunch of other Marines in their dress blues, and that's when they get the notification of like, okay, you're going to war, and the third act starts with everyone getting suited up and going off to battle, and it's like, this is just Top Gun. And I love Top Gun, so that I'm not putting this movie down by.
Yeah, Top Gun's actually it's an easy movie to make fun of in retrospect, looking back, but it's also a fun movie. I'll watch it anytime it's on.
Yeah.
Now I don't remember what year Top Gun came out.
86, I think, or maybe 88.
Well, we can look.
Yeah, I can.
Well, we're looking it up. Top Gun was a huge recruiting tool, enormous recruiting
86.
86, yeah.
See, it was a big year for movies.
I'm wondering too if this was kind of like they knew, like, so the Navy helped out with that movie, and it was a huge recruiting thing, right?
Yeah.
And it, for years, like well after that movie was gone out of the theaters, and still caused people to join the Marine Corps. I mean, I'm sorry, the Navy. I've said that this movie was an influence in me much more than any other Marine Corps movie as to why I chose the Marine Corps to go serve. Originally this was going to be an Army movie. A lot of the stuff that's in this movie makes more sense if it was Army. As far as Gunny Highway's character when he was in Heartbreak Ridge, he was in the Army. Him and Chuzu switched services to the Marine Corps later in life.
I read that, yeah.
Yeah, and I had for a long time wasn't aware if that was an actual line of dialogue or if you're just supposed to kind of know that. And no, there is a line of dialogue in the movie of Chuzu mentioning it to Jones, and it comes up later. And of course, I always say I'm gonna make sure I highlight it when we get to it because I had that question for such a long time. Also, too, a lot of the stuff that happened in Grenada in real life was done by either an airborne or a ranger unit with the Army. The Marines were there, but they didn't do some of the stuff that was portrayed. So the Army said, no, we don't want this because of the language, and it's just they said absolutely not. The Marines were their Toys for Tots was just starting out then, and they were like, this is going to be great. We can cross promote Toys for Tots. And I do wonder if it was maybe an idea for recruiting the same way Navy was doing Top Gun.
Oh, it's always an idea for recruiting.
Oh, of course. That being said, once they saw the finished product, they went, we can't No. The language is not appropriate. We can't do toys for tots in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious too, like what kind of PR idiot from the Marine Corps, because I hate to say it, but that they were an idiot, would sign off on this as a Clint Eastwood movie to get filmed and be like, oh yeah, we can just turn this into something where we can get toys for children, where it's a Clint Eastwood movie, like it's a war movie with Clint Eastwood in it.
Well, if you watch some of his older movies, though, like the language isn't near what it is in this movie. So I do wonder, but you would think they read the script unless they're just ad libbing all the the colorful metaphors, if you will.
Yeah.
Every time I see Gunny pull the rifle out of Profile's hands, I expect him to hit him in the gut with the butt of the rifle.
Yeah. You try to kill me, you eat.
Yeah.
That was one of my kind of other observations about that whole little bit. Was Gunny partly to blame for the weapon going off like that?
I had the same kind of note.
I mean, obviously, first and foremost, Profile is responsible. You're supposed to keep that weapon face downrange at all times.
Yep.
Right? So, like, even if you have to get up, you're supposed to lay your weapon against usually those benches and all that. But well, actually, the bench is a little far back, but you're supposed to lay it downrange, whatever.
Yep.
So again, we already talked about the safety violations of personal safety you're supposed to do with handling any weapon. He failed there.
Yep.
And I will say too, lack of range officers, they should have been like, dude, what are you doing? Turn around, boom, boom, boom. So that's where that lies. But Gunny grabbing the weapon, it seems like Profile had it kind of in the air.
Yeah.
And then Gunny kind of grabs it up and then puts it back down. It makes me think that he Profile might have not have fired the weapon if he hadn't grabbed it.
I think if Gunny had grabbed it and kept it pointed up, like that seems like in that situation, which shouldn't have happened, seems like the appropriate response would have been grab the kind of the barrel and keep it pointed at least in the air until you can get this numbskull to get it pointed down range where it should be. But yeah, the pulling it down back to kind of level ground, that seems like that part is on Gunny.
Yeah, I totally see that. It almost seemed like a bit of an overreaction on his part.
Well, wouldn't you?
Well, I know. I mean, but again, I thought the same thing. Like if he had kept it upright and took it from him, it may not have fired. And I mean, you never want to fire a weapon up into the air because those bullets have to come back down
at some point. Yeah.
It was it almost hit Major Powers, Sergeant Major Chuzu.
Yeah.
Let's see, half the guys.
Is Chuzu there too?
Yeah, he's there with Webster. He's between Webster is between him and Major Powers.
Okay.
And you see a couple guys of the other Marines of First Platoon rolling out of the way.
Yeah.
And if you notice, with the headphones on, you hear a lot of asshole and what the like a lot of the peanut gallery kind of yelling at him. I feel too like if there was proper range training there, like he could have gotten his ass shot. Like if there was a range officer might have shot his ass if he turned direction. But clearly Gunny knew that there was a problem, and so did Profile. Major Powers looked pissed. He took his hat up on his head like he was like Gomer Pyle or something, just like motherfucker.
I like this punishment that comes with it.
Yeah, he's got the rifle over his head, and he's got as the platoons are marching back, they're running around. He's running around the platoon, at least recon platoon anyways. They don't make it too far, and he looks tired already.
Yeah.
I mean and they're marching at a decent pace. It's not so Profile really has to do some running to get around them.
Yeah.
Webster, of course, kind of comes up and tries to
turn the screws.
Yeah, give it to Gunny just a little bit more. That he's the Major Powers are going to teach you how to discipline your men. Which we get that other one-liner from Gunny. If Webster, if Powers ever came to a sudden halt, your face would go halfway up his ass.
I love that line. That was great. Webster was a weird character because, like, I feel like he's just there sometimes, and when he is there, you don't know what to make of him, and then suddenly he is Power's right-hand man, and he's later on trying to get Gunny in trouble, and it's like I never knew what to make of this guy, and then suddenly he's just there trying to cause trouble, but like nothing really comes of it.
Yeah, he's just a kiss ass, and he's not very good.
Yeah.
Well, he's a kiss ass instigator who's not very good at the instigation part.
Yeah.
You're right. He's always coming in like he's gonna get one on Gunny, and then Gunny always gives him such a like an insult that he has no comeback for, and he always looks like, "Oh shit, yeah."
He's a weird character.
I was comparing him to he's like the assistant to the regional manager, like
yeah.
And he's also like the actor is 57 years old, and he's playing a staff sergeant, so he's way older than he should be.
Okay.
Most staff sergeants are not, most Marines are not going to be 57 years old. In fact, we were even saying Clint Eastwood is a little bit too old to be playing the role he's playing.
Okay.
We kind of gave it a mulligan, or not a mulligan. We kind of explained it away with the fact that he's a Medal of Honor winner, and the fact that I think he was in the service, got out for a few years, and came back in. That gap there accounted for his advanced age for a gunnery sergeant. Not to mention, they're probably not going to force a Medal of Honor winner to retire. Also, he probably had gotten busted down in rank at one point for all his insubordination. So he should have been a staff sergeant. I mean, a sergeant major, just like Chuzu.
Okay.
But with his age and his accolades, it's just that he definitely got out for a little while, and he also had trouble with some limp dicks,
Authority.
as he put it. Yeah. Was there anything else you guys have for this minute?
No,
I'm good.
The only other thing I forgot to mention that I had in my notes was back when Gunny and Stitch were going back to, when he gave him till 1900 hours to get the Kevlar, he said, "Yes, sir, Gunny Highway Sergeant, sir."
Yeah.
Which makes it sound like he's a cop, because he called him
yeah.
a highway sergeant.
Yeah.
Well, first off, you don't call the Gunny sir, which obviously he was being facetious. He's just messing with him. But the fact that he called him Gunny Highway Sergeant, like he got it all messed up. But other than that, I want to go ahead and finish up the minute, and we'll come back and find out what happens to Profile.
All right.
Actually, before we go, I should have done this last minute. Travis, do you want to plug any of your podcasts or where people can find you?
Sure. Yeah. So I did a Movies by Minute project. It's now been completed. I was co-host of Watchmen Minute, where we did all 186 minutes of Zack Snyder's director's cut of Watchmen.
Oh, cool.
You can find that everywhere. Just search Watchmen Minute. And then we also did the an episode by episode look at the HBO series. So that's one place you can find me. I'll save my other plug for maybe tomorrow.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks, everybody. Come back on Friday for minute number 51, where we wrap up the Profile Trilogy. Perry, my podcasting abilities jammed.
Say what? Jones is talking. Jones is talking. Yeah. Jones is talking. Say what?
Well, Perry, I'm going to teach you how to be. Actually, I got.
Come on.
Oh, I don't know. I lost it. This happens every time too. I'm like, as often as I try to come up with some clever line of dialogue, you would think I would actually write it down before we end it.
Yeah.
But I never do.
It's all right, man. It's okay, brother.
Okay.
Do you need a hug?
No. Anyways. Okay, well, Perry, my podcasting abilities, right.
And it went off in everybody's face.
Yeah. Everybody's ear, and now they're tuning out.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Come back on Friday for minute number 51, where we wrap up the trilogy, the profile trilogy.
Later.
Okay.
God damn.
They're putting me out of my misery.
It's all right.